Welcome back. It is always a good day when I wake up, open my eyes, say, okay, cool, I'm here. Thank you. What do you have for me today? So it is my day on the next room to record with another fascinating individual. My name is Jane Asher. The podcast is The Next Room. We're in our 4th year now, and I cannot believe how much it's grown. And I get such a kick out of going into the back end so I can pull up a map of the world and I see these big purple circles where people are listening, and I can see exactly how many people are downloading and listening. So if you'll just indulge me for a second, I want to do a little shout out. Travelers Rest, South Carolina. I don't know what's going on there, but I love you guys. I'm going to have to come to Travelers Rest because every single time I post a podcast, Travelers Rest shows up. Thank you. Traverse City, Michigan. My goodness, my home state of Michigan. Traverse City is arguably one of the most beautiful, natural, gorgeous cities on the planet. It's the cherry capital. It's just beautiful. I love Traverse City. My folks, of course, live just right around the corner in Gaylord, Michigan. Lakeland, Florida, big audience there. Litburn, Georgia. Welcome to the show. Sydney, New South Wales. Oh, my goodness. Or it's New South Wales, Australia, and Sydney, Australia. I'm not positive about that. Both of those regions listen. Woodburn and Medford, Oregon. Dutton, Ontario. British Columbia, huge in Canada. And a new one, Eastern Cape and South Africa. Welcome to the next room. Okay, we talk about everything on this show. And of course, if you've been listening, you know how much I love the intuition and connecting about what is next, the afterlife or the other life, or if you like to refer to it as heaven, that's great too. I'm a big fan. I wrote the book, The Next Room, and I did that in spirit with my mother, who is my co-author. If you want, you can purchase a book. It's available globally everywhere through Amazon, of course. If you do want an autographed copy, I will ship free in the United States, and you can get that through thenextroombook.com. And I just thank you. I thank you for the 5-star reviews I receive. I thank you for all the love that I get through the Facebook page and Instagram. And boy, what a community we're creating here together. Okay, that's enough of me. My guest today is Lisa. Lisa, the multifaceted medium. I think we were trying to figure out when we first met, and I asked her, and we were both kind of like, I don't know. I think we just kind of connected. I saw this darling, beautiful, gorgeous woman on Facebook, and she was doing a Facebook Live, and she just had this effervescent spirit and just such a purity. And I could tell she was here to help us move forward. I could tell immediately that it was someone I needed to get to know. And I'm not sure how it all came to be, but it doesn't matter because she is my guest today. Lisa, the multifaceted medium. I'm just going to give you a little bit. If you want to follow along, it's the multifacetedmedium.com. And her name is Lisa. You can find her everywhere on Facebook and everything. Join her community. Welcome to the next room, Lisa.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Can you tell?
It's so good to have you here. And you said that you haven't done a lot of these, but
No.
yet I thought, you're so comfortable, and I see you doing your Facebook Lives and I see you doing your messages, and, you're inspiring
Thank you.
audience of people. So I thought, oh, you've been doing a ton of these. So welcome to the next room. Lisa, tell me about the multifaceted aspect of being a medium. And first tell me about that. And then I have a second question.
Okay, perfect. So great question. The multifaceted came around because I used to be the hairdresser medium, because I used to be a hairdresser in my previous past life. Things happened over time where I was able to shift and pivot. And I was like, you know what? This isn't making me happy anymore. I loved helping people, but I needed to switch. And, I needed to figure out how I was going to go about that. But, it wasn't about figuring out how. I was just like, all right, Spirit, what am I supposed to be doing? Came to all these different forks in the road and decided, I was leaving the salon. I knew there was something bigger for me. I didn't know what it was. This has been something I've been doing since a little kid, I think since birth, but, I didn't understand it back then. And when I look back, there's another story with that. It's really interesting because as it came forward, I want to say it was around 2020. which is that big pivotal time for everyone, right?
No
So
kidding.
this came in way earlier for me. But in 2020 is when the hairdresser medium switched to the multifaceted medium. I had a dream and I woke up one day and Spirit said, "You're going to be the multifaceted medium." And I'm like, really? That's a cool name. I bet it's taken. And sure enough, I looked it up and it wasn't taken. And I'm like, wow. And I didn't know what they were talking about, but I do so many different things. A transformational teacher. I'm a energy healer, a wellness strategist. I've been a professional hair designer by trade. So I call myself a PhD, professional hair designer. Right. And I did that for years and I'm still a hairdresser. It's kind of like I knew there was something more. Like I loved serving my clients and like empowering them to not only do their hair, but would show them how to do it. So it's the same thing with development. Like I love giving readings. I love helping my clients with healing. And Spirit kept saying, "You're going to be known as a healer." And I'm like, really? I thought I wanted to do mediumship. Once I learned I could actually harness this, which I didn't know. You don't understand what you're perceiving, but there's definitely imaginary friends and all that stuff back then. And imaginary creatures. And, it was just fun. The more I stepped into that and started to really own that, I was like, wow, okay. The multifaceted medium came out. I stepped into that. It was like things just started to shift. And I realized how all those things I was good at had really taken me on the journeys. I don't like to call it a journey because journeys are long. It took me on this adventure, which I think is more fun. And it pulled everything together and it brought it into this place of like, you can be good at many things. And then I realized the healing they were speaking about, which I kept thinking, okay, am I supposed to do energy healing? Like maybe that's what I'm supposed to follow. Because, we really don't know. I'm over there going, all right, guide me, show me the way, I surrender, constantly. And it was just, things started lining up and it was like everything came together and I heard you can be good at many things, but the healing is really all of it put together because as a transformational teacher, I have a community where I help people develop how to learn their abilities and how to connect with their loved ones that they're missing in spirit. If they're empaths and they're sensitive, it's a great place to do that. So that's one aspect of healing, because in that aspect of healing, learning to connect with spirit, but you're also working on yourself, because what we found in this community is that by stepping into working with spirit, you're actually becoming the best version of yourself, which is multifaceted you. You're becoming a multifaceted version of yourself. So it's kind of like that name started to come there. And like as an energy healer, you have all these different things that you're good at. And as you're pulling it in, it's all energy, right? We're all energy. And so why not use that in so many different ways? Because even with the teaching, nobody's really a teacher, we're guides, but it's kind of like as you're guiding those people through it, that facet, there's many different pieces to it where you can shine the light. Then also as being a wellness strategist, it's another form of healing. Doing readings is another form of healing, because as someone gets a reading, to me, I'm just the vehicle. The gift, I believe, is when the person, like say I'm the person doing the reading, you have the person who's the sitter getting the reading, and then you have spirit. Right. And so you understand this because you wrote a book about all this. But for people who maybe don't understand that, how can I say this? You're here as the medium, they're the sitter, and then spirit. As you're bringing through the message, that feeling, that connection, and when they have that connection where spirit is really moving through them and just using you as that vehicle, to me, that's the gift. So that in itself is healing. So it's really beautiful. And then, as a hair designer, I also got to bring through beauty for people and give them that as a healing, because maybe they didn't feel good about themselves, but I was able to empower them to not just do their hair, but then show them how to do it. So it's kind of like I just brought all that together and it became multifaceted. So that's, I guess, why they gave me the name.
When you were doing hair, and you still do hair, people were coming in, say women are coming in, were you picking up vibrations and energy and messages for them as they're sitting in your chair?
Okay, you were a little frozen. So you
Okay.
were asking me if I picked up the energy.
Yeah, when they came in to get their hair done, were you picking up the energy?
My mom and I had a hair salon back in the day. I had a salon before that with a girlfriend, so I've had a few of them. What I noticed was the first time I didn't really understand I was doing this yet. I wasn't even aware of it. But the second salon, and I would be in there and I'd be understanding that I could connect, and I was taking classes and learning. And what happened was I would use all my, oops, I think we froze.
We did.
Okay.
We're having some connective issues here today. So let's just ask for a little help, okay? So
Spirit, help us out.
Yeah, let's just get through this without having connection issues. There's been a lot of that lately.
There has. There's a lot of wind here today.
Yeah.
What I started to say is when my mom and I had the hair salon, people would come in. I was already in the process of developing. I had taken some Reiki courses. I was developing my abilities with my own circle, like learning and going to sit in development circle every week. So, of course, I would share it with my clients and they'd go, can you read me? Who's here? And so I used them for 10 years as practice. So I practiced and had an audience that was captive, which was pretty awesome. So
I
I
love
really
that.
like that. And I think they enjoyed it too.
Yeah. So you have this, you said you have a multifaceted medium soul society. Let's talk about the soul society and what is that? And if I'm listening today and I'm thinking that that's intriguing, how do I get involved?
Perfect. Our private community, it's a paid community, a membership, and it's called the Multifaceted Souls Society. It is for highly sensitive souls who are intuitive, empathic, really just missing a loved one in spirit, like, or in heaven, whatever you want to call that. Everyone's missing someone, and they're looking for healing, but they also want to learn how to connect with them. And I always say no one needs a medium. I always say people go to medium, be able to validate what they already receive. That to me is the highest thing. If you can share with them how to do that, is honestly years ago, before I knew I could do this, I searched for people to teach me. I didn't understand. When I was a kid, knew there was something bigger than myself. Like I understood that. I could feel things. I was sensing things. I had an imaginary friend. And in my basement, my mom did hair. So we would play down there and it was an unfinished basement. But, if my dad turned off the lights and said, come on up for dinner or whoever, and shut the lights off on us, you couldn't get up the steps fast enough because I called them the beings in the basement or the people under the stairs. And which is interesting because I knew something was there. It's almost like when you're in the food store line and someone comes up behind you when they're in your space and you kind of have to turn around because you sense their presence. So I knew something was there. And as I would step into that, I didn't understand it. So I searched and searched for a guide who would kind of take me under their wing and help me. I even remember I wrote a letter to them. I wrote a letter to the beings in the basement, right? To the people under the stairs. And I left a pen there thinking, on my dad's big yellow notepad. And I thought, oh, I'm going to figure out who they are because I was super inquisitive at the time, really curious. And that's kind of who this community is for, the curious who really want to understand and develop this. But I wrote this letter, I was just learning penmanship. I wrote to the people under the stairs, I know you're real. Like, let me know who you are so I can understand. Like, I just wanted to know. And of course, I couldn't ask my dad. He would have so made fun of me. It just wasn't talked about back then. He would have been like, it's the boogeyman. So I wrote this letter, left a note and, waited till the morning. And I was so devastated when there was no message because they don't have physical hands. They don't, they can communicate, but it's so subtle. It's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And I didn't understand that back then. So what I did was I opened this community based on the fact that I didn't want to feel alone. And for years, even though I found development communities and groups, they never were quite right. And when I realized they were great, I had some amazing tutors all over the globe, especially over in Arthur Finley at the college. I didn't personally go there, but a lot of my tutors came here and a lot of it, we did different ways. And I took a little bit of all that and made it my own and opened the Multifaceted Soul Society for people who are curious, who are looking to develop those, I call them God-given innate abilities we all have. And that's where I was sharing before. It's not a gift, but some people will call it that. And, I don't argue with people anymore. I just go, okay. But to me, the gift is the connection with spirit. We're just the vehicle. But if we can share that and I can bring that through and guide them to be able to nurture that, the more it's like any muscle, the more you work with it, the more it strengthens. And it's kind of something you have to do because as children, we're doing that naturally. I was feeling them, sensing them, seeing things, but I didn't know what I was seeing. So it made me very scared. And I noticed in our community, we're really for beginners, people who are newly awakening. Some of them don't even know they can do this. They'll come for a reading and I'll hear spirit, oh, they're supposed to be in your group. And I mention it, not that they need to be, but I'm like, oh, I have a group. And they're like, really? I didn't know I could do this. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't know I could do this either, So I like to empower people and it's not for everyone. But for those who it fits, I feel like it's a really great fit. And I do vet everyone that comes in to keep our group very, very safe, very sacred, because people are being very vulnerable in there and they're sharing things that are very private. And some people love doing these gallery readings. It's just not my thing. I think I want to hold that space for people. And I love the idea that we have that beautiful connection. So we practice every Tuesday. Our group comes together, and, it's a development process. So it's not a once and done. People take, you hear so many people today. I took a weekend course and I'm a medium. I'm like, hey, good for you. That's awesome. But it's a development process. Like, I'll be developing till the day I cross over to spirit. I feel like there's always something to learn. To me, it's very humbling. And it's not a parlor trick. You're not trying to, let me see who I can read. It's not like that. It's you're helping them to not that they don't need a medium. Like, nobody needs the medium, but I still go to readings. I just had a reading a few weeks ago with a medium that blew my mind, because it was things that I had already had in my journals for years. That's all coming to be now. Like, they kept telling me it was going to be a while. Well, it took a long time. So it's just now starting to come together. And as I'm having the reading with the medium, I'm over here saying, oh my gosh, that's in my journal. And the medium's going, well, of course it is. We're validating. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, I know it's crazy, but it's crazy good, but it's just such an awesome feeling. And when you can share that with someone, and to me, to see them light up, it's like being the first grade teacher when the little kid learns how to read or write and they're like, I did it, so I like to share, consider me the first grade teacher of spiritual development. Like, I just, that's what our community is like. It's a really nice space. And it's kind of like, if you've ever seen the movie Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, kind of reminds me of that. So I drive a yellow FJ Cruiser. And if I were to come and pick you up to either go somewhere or work with me, whatever, it's the feeling of, I show up in my yellow Sunshine Spirit Mobile, right? It's bright yellow. It's kind of like, I come around, I open the door, I help you in. So I make you feel comfortable and safe. Then I help you buckle up so you're super safe. And then we kind of go off on an adventure. And it's kind of like you, me, and the spirit world in the back seat. So they're all in tow. And we just go on this wild adventure, and we end up in the coolest places. And we don't even try. It just happens. So we've been meeting people from all over the globe. And it's just been really fun. Really, really cool. So we're online too.
Okay. It sounds like a fun community. Yeah. Don't you feel that each and every one of us has the ability to connect and, yes, to do this? It's just a matter of asking for it and also believing that you can. And then once you receive it, go, okay, look what I created here. Do you feel like that? Do you feel like everyone has the ability to connect?
I do. I think that's a really good way to put it. I believe everyone is, naturally born innately with these abilities. I like to call them superpowered, strengths or psychic abilities. Everyone has them. Is everyone going to step in and do that? Probably not, because everyone's born. We could all play the piano. Some people are going to be born really good at it naturally, but anybody can learn. It's the same idea. And so if they can take those skills, really is what it is. It's a skill that we're not really taught. We're told from a young age, unless we're nurtured. Today, kids are nurtured with it, I think is great. Back then, I didn't have anybody to nurture me. I had to figure all this out on my own. I was trying to figure out tarot cards at 12 years old. I'm like, I want to read cards. I want to do this. So I knew this way back then. I just didn't understand how to get there. But I think everyone has this, capability, which it's a capability if you think about it, like a superhero, it's like you're stepping into this amazing ability that everyone can harness if they want to. It's not for everyone to step in and be a medium, but everyone can connect with their loved ones. It's definitely a calling, because it takes a lot of your time. And it is, it's kind of like, people will go and become a nun or a priest, but your life is still your life. You're still having this amazing adventure. You're definitely called to it. And I knew this healing that they kept talking about, I didn't know what it was, like I said, but I've come to realize that it really encompasses all of it. Because you're stepping into the best version of yourself, whatever you're doing, whatever it is that lights your fire, like that just spurs your soul. That's when you're in that place of passion and you're just stepping into it. And that's when your whole multifaceted being of yourself, just, I call it like it explodes, it emanates out of you, and people feel that and they just are like, oh, I want some of that. I want what she's having. You know what I mean? And I feel like working with spirit is that kind of a feeling for me. Maybe it's not for everyone else, but it seems like when the people in our community, when they're connecting, they're getting that feeling as well. So it's beautiful.
Did you have, like I heard when you were talking about the people under the stairs and your dad would shut out the light and you just had to hurry and get out of the basement. Did you have any fear, and do you have any fear now?
Yes. So when I was a kid, very scared because, you don't know what it is. And I had no one to ask. I would sense things. I would hear things, would see things, out the corner of your eye. And I'd go, oh my God, what was that? And I was so scared. But then I was so curious too. So as much as I was scared, I was like, ooh, I want to know what that is. So I went and wrote the letter. As I got older, once I understood and learned, then I was like, okay, I wasn't as fearful. And then once I started to develop, I was like, oh, okay, is this how it works? And then I was like, oh, now, no, there's no fear. And actually, when I first started, this is kind of funny too. I had a teacher, a couple, they were from the United Kingdom, and they were here teaching, I guess, on their tour. And I kept bringing crystals because I love crystals. They're just fun, right? And so, it's like if you grow up Catholic or whatever your belief is, you have something that protects you, right? So of course I had my crystals in my pocket, and he's like, listen, you don't need to bring any of that. You don't need to do it. I'm like, no, I have to have my crystals. And he's like, no, leave your crystals. And next thing you know, he was like telling me, you don't need them, put them out in the car. So I did. And I was able to do the reading without all that. But in the beginning, I kept thinking I needed it. So it's kind of like, our belief systems get in the way. And when that happens, it tends to take things in a different direction. So it's kind of like if you can let go of that and be open, that's what I find works best.
If you just tuned in, my guest is Lisa. Lisa is the multifaceted medium. She has intuition training. You can find her at multifacetedmedium.com. She also has a really fun Facebook page. So link up with her there. I told you this would go fast and there was nothing to fear. Do you have any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
If anybody does need to reach me for a reading or anything like that, they can reach me at lisa@themultifacetedmedium.com. That's my email. Okay. And they do go to the website, which is the www.themultifacetedmedium.com. There is a free masterclass on there that will take them into, get some freebies, and then it'll take you right into the Multifaceted Soul Society. So you can check it out for more information.
I love that. Do you have anything you want to leave us with? Any final thought or a message maybe that I didn't get around to asking you?
So I think just be open to spirit, right? Spirit's always trying to connect with us. And I feel like if you're seeing this, there are no accidents. It's a sign. It's a sign from the divine. They'll use us as vehicles and they'll try to reach whoever they need to. And so just the fact that they connected us through Facebook, Jane, I think is incredible. Like here we are across the globe. I'm in Pennsylvania and you're out in San Diego. So, and we have the same dog.
Yeah, we do. I know. Mine's snoring down at my feet right now. It's great. They both behaved perfectly.
You did.
Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, Lisa. It really was fun to hear your story and how you got started from the hairdresser medium to now the multifaceted medium. If you want to connect, in the show page, there will be the information about Lisa, and I'll put a link to her website there. Thank you for listening to The Next Room. The Next Room, where to me, death is dinner conversation. We cover every single topic. If you know someone or you perhaps would like to be on the show, just reach out. It's The Next Room with Jane at Gmail. Or you can find me on Facebook and send me a message, or you can go to my website, which is my full name, janeasherrainey.com. I do want to do a little message here for Align coming up in February of 2023. Myself, along with the unbelievably delightful grave woman, Joelle, we're going to do a course called Align, and it's asking, inviting guidance from the next room. So it's asking, listening, inviting guidance from the next room. And she and I are going to teach that course. It's really going to be a lot of fun and very spirited. And we just had another little session yesterday, and the sparks were flying. So join us in February. Easy to sign up. You can do it through my website or her website. Tell you how we do it. We can't, there is no magic wand with this. It is a matter of our practices. And so we're willing to share with you our practices. So thank you so much for listening to The Next Room. My name is Jane Asher. My guest, Lisa, the multifaceted medium. I'll catch you again in a couple weeks. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks, Jane.